Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. I'm here with the DBX 707, the milestone car we just won this season, from the last season actually. It turns out the DBX 707 is a low performance point high evo car that is relatively good in live. So I have a no stage 6 setup at the moment with this car. I'm going to test it in live real quick, and then we'll go back and see how it does. How it dynos and what the setup is, so you guys can put this to work for yourself if you like to build this car. I always like building Aston Martin simply because for the most part Aston Martin fusions are relatively easy to get and plentiful in the game. And the reality is that the tier 4 range cars, while there are many good ones, coming from purely from a milestone, being a good car isn't as common. Now recently we had a slew of good cars. We have the Mustang Dark Horse, which is excellent. We have this one, and in the past we also have great tier 4 cars like the Elite Tuner LC500, the Cadillac CTS-V Blackwing, and others, including the Jeep Gladiator's pretty decent. The Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon turned out to be relatively decent as well. But this car is actually really decent as a minimal upgrade or mediocre upgrade live racer, because turns out you don't need stage 6s to make it really good, and it still generates very good lobbying and pretty good lobby advantage. And really what gets us going with this is the lobby advantage. That's very important, because you always want lobby advantage in any race, in the sense that you don't have to run very fast to win. Now mind you, I am in a much slower lobby than your typical upgraded tier 5, which generally with some level of upgrades push you right into the 11s to 10s. So the tier 5s you face in here are going to have minimal upgrades. The tier 4s you face in here are more upgraded to the level of this car, but even the LC500 in here generally are not the fully elite ones. So part of the advantage you have is because you're in a lobby of cars that may not be as well set up, and therefore it's competitive. But that is not to take away from this car. This car at 565 performance points has 2000 plus Evo, which makes it quite good. Now that being said, in this lobby a F5 concept, if it's running the down tune, which I expect most are, they can beat you because they can actually run much quicker than what you can actually run. However, if the F5 is not set up with the down tune, then it's probably running marginal upgrades, and therefore it would not be that quick in this lobby, and therefore I can beat it. So it really depends. In order to be in the 13s for the F5 Venom, you would have to, even the concept, you would really have to have very little upgrades and or very little fusions. Now without fusions, no car is great. My car, despite the fact not having full upgrades, certainly I filled all the fusion slots. Okay, so those are the kind of things that you want to consider. So again, in this lobby it is competitive, and right now I'm running mostly 13-second opponents. I mean mid 13 opponents, it looks like, even, which is surprising because I was expecting low 13 opponents at a minimum, and at least one guy ran a 14, which is really slow. But again, you're in a lobby that's not really full of well-tuned cars. This is a good car. This could be good if you run it right. But again, generally speaking, I'm not facing really tough opponents. So let's jump back in one more time, see if anything changes. If it doesn't, we'll go back and take a look at this car setup and tune. Because I just built the car, I just tuned it, and I'm just using it. By running what I'm running, I'm setting the lobby. There's a good chance that the lobby would change, and if it doesn't, that means that for now I'm pretty well set into this particular lobby range. The downside here, of course, is I'm not seeing a lot of challengers. Oh, here we go. So this car here is again a Plymouth that can easily be tuned in this lobby to beat dyno, and that's really part of the issue of being in the slower lobbies. You sometimes have to deal with dyno busters, but if you have lobby advantage and you have your car set up well, you can still give them a run for their money. Or I'm going to end up pushing this guy out of this lobby because he's going to have to run pretty fast compared to dyno in the lobby to beat me. I did a 12.6. He did a 12.6. I'm not going to re-challenge him because for the most part, his car is much more upgraded and then down-tuned in order to run that 12.6 versus where I am. I run the 12.6, but my dyno actually is pretty close to that. It's not quite 12.6, but it's much closer to it than I think high 13s or mid 13s. That's where we're at. Okay, so I'm going to run a bot now because it looks like he and I both got bumped into a new lobby. It could be the new setup with the bumping system. Remember, we got a recent update, and anytime it updates, things can change, and you need to be very careful to see what's changing and where you're at. Let's see what the bot ran, and then we can tell approximately where we are. So 14.2, that means we're in the 13.2 lobby. I certainly moved up a lobby from where I was, which I believe was 13.5. And that makes sense considering that we ran faster. Okay, I'm going to run this guy, run it again slow, and then once I'm done with that, I'm going to jump out of lobby and jump back in, and hopefully I'll be back into my old lobby. The other car, that Plymouth, by running a 12.6, probably bumped a lobby or two with me, but there's a good chance that unless he knows how to run slow to get himself back together into the slower lobbies, he is now permanently bumped or semi-permanently bumped, because it's very hard to unbump cars nowadays. Once you're bumped, you are basically stuck in the faster lobby until some pretty substantial amount of running slow happens. Okay, so I just see it now to 13.5. So that bot 13.5, the other bot 13.2. If I leave the lobby now, I might be back in the mid 13 lobby yet again. So again, I have a lot more bots I can run, which usually when I see this, I do run it. That's a tip for you guys that are trying to unbump your cars, or you feel like you might be getting bumped. If you see a lobby full of bots, there's a good chance you're between lobbies and the computer's trying to decide where to put you. Run the bots, run slow, get yourself back into a more competitive lobby. All right, so again, I want to see what this bot's going to run. This one seems like he's a little bit quicker. That might be back to a 14.2 bot, but we'll see. Ooh, that's a 13.9 bot, so that's even quicker. That's not a good sign. So that is a much faster bot versus the other two. So it's actually trying to push me further into a faster lobby. We don't want that. I'm going to jump out, and I'm going to jump back in, and then we'll see where we are, because anytime you run something crazy fast under dyno, whether it's even by a little bit or not, it's relative to the lobby you're in, not relative just to your dyno anymore. So if you're in the 13.5 lobby and you run a 12.6, that's almost a second, so you're definitely getting bumped out of there. There's no way the computer's going to keep you in there, because it doesn't make sense to do that. So here I'm seeing some other DBXs. Okay, this is always a competitive car in these kind of lobbies, so it's tricky to race them. And we have one LC500. This car will be easy to race. And this one I can race because despite its good performance point to evo ratio as a tier 5, this car just doesn't lobby that well. So if it's not well tuned and not fully fusioned, it's a good chance to find out exactly what lobby I'm in, and I will race it to find out. Now if he beats me by a lot, then it tells me I'm in a very fast lobby, and that's not a good thing. Okay, looks like he slowed down at the end there, but let's see what I ran. 14.2, geez. Okay, he definitely did slow down. There's no reason for him to run that slow. So he knows he was losing, so he decided to just run slow. Now, this bodes well for me to be back into 13, mid 13. I could race this guy, but again, that's kind of a down-tuned car as well. These guys are usually pretty competitive in here. It's worth racing them, but I'm probably going to have to run faster than what I did before to win those. But let's go ahead and take a Regera on. The Regera, much like the electric cars, need a very sensitive, or it has a very sensitive launch. So if he gets the launch wrong, that's a tenth or two difference I can get as a margin on him, and therefore would increase my chance of success. But the Regera is coming up pretty hard on me. I'm going to slow down because I don't want to win this and bump myself yet again. Let's see what he ran. Probably 13 flat to 12.9. 12.7. So he ran pretty quick. I'm not going to run that in here because my dyno is actually not that quick. So by pushing it, it would hurt me to do that. And after that last 12.6 run, I'm not too keen on bumping my car further up. So I'm going to leave the lobby on the loss. And let's go ahead and take a look at the setup of the car. So this is a stage 5 only setup. There's no stage 6 being used, even though I do have one of the best, transmission. Okay, so with transmission, I can bump the car even further into higher performance, but let's not worry about that. Stage 5 trans, stock engine, stage 3 turbo, stock intake, stage 2 nitrous, stage 3 body, stage 3 tire, fully fusioned. The way I tune the car is to tune it to a particular dyno, and it happens with this setup to fall at a good spot at the dyno, and that is a 12.875. Nitrous all the way right, transmission all the way left, tire all the way right. Now you don't have to do all the way right. You can do 65-35. It actually bumps it a little bit quicker, but 0.867 versus 0.87, 866, I am actually better off where I am. I like the 875 simply because it's easier. Now, what I was saying in the beginning of the video, I don't know if it was mentioned, but if I didn't, I'm going to tell you now. Look at these numbers and you can say this car is probably not that great for Tempest. Now, mind you, it's not fully maxed, so we can't disregard it yet, but the 0 to 60 on this car is really not that great. So the chance of it doing a 0 to 60 in 1.3, even fully maxed, isn't probably going to be easy. Therefore, I don't think I would recommend this as a Tempest car. Plus, it seems to struggle a little bit with high top speed, so even fully maxed, can it easily top 260 mile per hour? I don't know. But I know the 250 mile per hour challenge will probably be difficult for you. So right there is your stage 5 only live racing setup for the DBX 707, a very decent new live racer and one of the few SUVs in the game that's actually easy to drive and do well in live. I hope that you liked the video. If you have any questions about what I did with the car or how I ran it, feel free to ask it in the comments. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you like my channel and would like to get notified when I put up these videos, subscribe, hit the bell, and you get notified when videos are available. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. I'll catch you next time.